The morning sun cast long shadows through the grand windows of Buckingham Palace as William walked through the corridors, his footsteps echoing against the marble floors. He had been summoned urgently by Kate's medical team, though they had given him no details over the phone. His heart raced with each step, remembering how just weeks ago, Kate had seemed perfectly healthy, laughing at their children's antics in the garden. The palace staff moved quietly around him, their faces showing a mixture of concern and respect. William noticed how they averted their eyes, something they rarely did unless circumstances were grave. His mind wandered back to 3 months earlier, when Kate had first mentioned feeling unusually tired. They had both dismissed it as the natural exhaustion that came with royal duties and raising 3 young children. Dr. Matthews stood waiting outside Kate's private quarters, his expression somber. William had known the royal physician for years, had seen him through various family medical situations, but never had he seen such gravity in the man's eyes. The doctor's hands trembled slightly as he reached for the door handle, a detail that sent a chill down William's spine. "Your Highness, Doctor," Matthews began, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Duchess has asked to see you immediately. She insisted we call you back from your engagement." William nodded, trying to maintain his composure despite the fear building inside him. The doctor continued, "She's been incredibly brave, but the recent tests have revealed complications we hadn't anticipated." As William entered the room, he was struck by how small Kate looked in the grand 4-poster bed. The vibrant woman who had captured the world's heart seemed to have aged years in just days. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, but her eyes still held that spark of determination he had fallen in love with all those years ago at St. Andrews University. "William," she said softly, attempting a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. He rushed to her bedside, taking her delicate hand in his. It felt cold, too cold, and he instinctively rubbed it between both of his hands, trying to warm her. The medical equipment surrounding the bed beeped steadily, a rhythmic reminder of the seriousness of the situation. "My darling," William whispered, fighting back tears. "The doctor said you wanted to see me urgently. What's happening? Tell me everything." He searched her face for answers, for some sign that this was all a terrible misunderstanding. But Kate's expression told him everything he feared to know. She squeezed his hand weakly, gathering strength for what she needed to say. "They've done more tests, William. The treatment isn't working as we hoped." Her voice was steady despite the gravity of her words. "The doctors have been wonderful, but sometimes our bodies have different plans than we do." William felt his world beginning to crumble. "No, Kate, no. There must be something else we can try. We'll get specialists from America, from Switzerland, from anywhere. Money is no object. We'll fight this together, just as we've faced everything else." Kate shook her head gently, a sad smile crossing her lips. "My brave William, always wanting to fix everything. But some things are beyond our control." She paused, taking a labored breath. "I need you to listen to me now. Really listen. There are things I must tell you, things that cannot wait." The room fell silent except for the medical equipment and William's ragged breathing. Outside, life continued as normal in London, people going about their daily routines, unaware that inside these palace walls, a prince was facing his darkest hour. Kate had always been his anchor, the one who kept him grounded when royal pressures threatened to overwhelm him. "First," Kate began, her voice gaining strength from sheer determination, "the children must never feel responsible for this. George is old enough to understand something is wrong, but he mustn't carry guilt about the times he was difficult or the arguments we had about homework. Charlotte, my spirited girl, she'll want to be strong for everyone. Don't let her hide her grief behind bravery. And Louis, oh, my baby Louis." Her voice broke, and William saw tears streaming down her cheeks. He reached out to wipe them away, his own tears now falling freely. "Kate, please, save your strength. We can talk about all this when you're better." "No, William," she said firmly, the royal training showing through even in her weakened state. "We both know why I've asked you here. The doctors have been honest with me, and now I must be honest with you. I have days, perhaps a week at most." The words hit William like a physical blow. He stood abruptly, pacing to the window and back, running his hands through his hair in a gesture Kate had seen 1,000 times when he was distressed. "This can't be happening. We had plans, Kate, the children's education, the charities we were going to expand, growing old together at Anmer Hall. You promised me we'd be those embarrassing grandparents who spoil their grandchildren rotten. Kate watched him with such love in her eyes that it made his chest ache. Come back to me, she said softly, patting the bed beside her. When he sat down, she continued. Life rarely goes according to our plans, my love. But what we've had, William, what we've had has been more beautiful than I ever dared dream. She reached for a leather journal on her bedside table, one William recognized as the diary she'd kept since their engagement. I've been writing letters, she explained, seeing his questioning look. For the children, for their important moments. First days of school, graduations, weddings, they're all in here, along with letters for you for when the grief feels too heavy to bear. William took the journal, holding it as if it were made of the most delicate glass. You've thought of everything, he said, his voice thick with emotion. A mother always does, Kate replied. But there's more I need to tell you, things that can't be written down. She shifted slightly, wincing at the movement. Promise me you'll find happiness again, William. Not tomorrow, not next year, but someday. The children will need to see that life goes on, that joy can exist alongside grief. Kate, I can't even think about. You must, she interrupted gently. Not for yourself, but for them. Show them that love doesn't end with loss, it transforms. The love we've shared will always be part of you, part of them, but hearts are capable of expanding, of loving more than once. The afternoon light was beginning to fade, casting the room in golden hues. William noticed how the light caught in Kate's hair, still lustrous despite her illness. He remembered the first time he'd seen her on that runway in St. Andrews, how the lights had made her shine like an angel. She'd been luminous then, and somehow, even now, she still was. There are practical matters too, Kate continued, ever the organized one. I've spoken with my sister about helping with the children. Pippa knows their routines, their likes and dislikes. Your father has promised to step back from some duties to be more present. And your grandmother? Well, she's tougher than all of us combined. William managed a weak smile at the mention of the Queen. She always had a soft spot for you. Said you were the best thing to happen to me. She was right, Kate said with a hint of her old playfulness. But William, there's something else. Something about that night at the charity gala last month. I need to tell you what really happened when I collapsed. The truth isn't what we told the press. William's brow furrowed. They had told the media it was simple exhaustion, but he could see now there was more to the story. What really happened, Kate? She took a deep breath, preparing to reveal something that had clearly been weighing on her. I knew then, William. I felt it in my body, knew something was terribly wrong. But it was Charlotte's birthday the next week, and I couldn't let her day be overshadowed by my illness. So I asked Dr. Matthews to delay the tests. Kate, William breathed, understanding dawning. You mean you've known longer than you told me? She nodded, tears flowing again. I wanted to protect you all for just a little longer. To have those last weeks of normalcy. Charlotte's birthday, Louis's school play, your investiture ceremony. I needed those moments to be untainted by this shadow. William pulled her into his arms, careful of the medical equipment. Oh, my darling Kate, always thinking of others, even now. He held her as she wept, feeling her fragile body shake against his chest. You don't have to be strong anymore. You've been strong enough for all of us. They stayed that way for several minutes, holding each other as they had countless times before, but knowing it was different now. Every embrace was numbered, every moment precious. When Kate pulled back, her eyes were red but determined. There's one more thing, she said, her voice now barely above a whisper. The most important thing. But I need you to call the children first. They should be here. What I have to say, it's for all of you. The palace corridors seemed longer than ever as William made his way to the children's quarters. Each step felt heavy, as if he were walking through thick mud. His mind raced with how to prepare them for what was coming. How did one tell children that their mother, their constant source of love and stability, was slipping away? He found them in the playroom with their nanny, Maria. George was helping Louis with a puzzle while Charlotte practiced her ballet positions. The normalcy of the scene nearly broke him. Maria caught his eye and immediately understood. ushering herself out quietly. The children looked up at their father, and George, always perceptive, immediately sensed something was wrong. "Papa, why do you look so sad?" Charlotte asked, abandoning her ballet practice to run to him. She wrapped her small arms around his legs, looking up at him with Kate's eyes. The resemblance was almost painful. William knelt down to their level, gathering all three children close. "Mummy wants to see all of us," he said gently. "She has some important things to tell us." Louis, only 5, bounced excitedly at the mention of his mother. But George's face had gone pale. At 8 years old, he understood more than his younger siblings. "Is Mummy going to get better?" George asked quietly, his voice small and uncertain. William's heart shattered at the question, but he knew Kate would want him to be honest, to prepare them gently for what was ahead. "Let's go see Mummy," William said, not quite answering. "She's waiting for us." He lifted Louis onto his hip and took Charlotte's hand, while George walked beside him, unusually quiet. The journey back to Kate's room felt both endless and far too quick. When they entered, Kate's face lit up at the sight of her children, and for a moment, the illness seemed to fade away. She was just a mother, drinking in the sight of her babies. "My darlings," she said, opening her arms as much as the medical equipment would allow. "Come here, all of you." The children climbed carefully onto the bed, instinctively gentle with their mother. Louis nestled against her side while Charlotte held her hand. George stood slightly apart until Kate beckoned him closer, understanding his need to appear strong. "I have a story to tell you," Kate began, her voice soft but clear. "A very important story about love and family, and the magic that never goes away." The children settled in, accustomed to their mother's bedtime stories, though this one would be different from any they'd heard before. "Once upon a time," Kate continued, "there was a princess who loved her 3 children more than all the stars in the sky. She loved the way her oldest son always looked out for others, the way her daughter danced through life with joy, and the way her youngest son could make everyone laugh with his silly faces." Louis giggled and made one of his faces, earning a weak but genuine laugh from Kate. "That's right. Just like that," she said, kissing his forehead. "This princess was very lucky because she got to spend every day watching her children grow and learn and become the most wonderful people." Kren, but one day, her voice grew softer. The princess learned she had to go on a journey she couldn't take her children on, no matter how much she wanted to. It made her very sad, because she loved being with them more than anything in the world. Charlotte's grip on her hand tightened. "Where does the princess have to go, Mummy?" Kate looked at William, drawing strength from his presence. "Sometimes, my darling, people get very sick, and their bodies get too tired to keep working. When that happens, they have to leave, even though their love stays behind forever." George's eyes filled with tears he was trying hard not to shed. "You're the princess, aren't you, Mummy? You're the one who has to go away." Kate nodded, her own tears falling freely now. "Yes, my brave boy. I'm very sick, and the doctors have done everything they can. But sometimes—" She paused, searching for words that would help them understand. "Sometimes God needs angels back in heaven, even when we want to stay here." "No," Charlotte cried out, burying her face in Kate's shoulder. "You can't go. We need you. Who will braid my hair for ballet? Who will help me with my reading?" Louis, not fully understanding but sensing his siblings' distress, began to cry too. "Mummy, stay," he said simply, clinging to her more tightly. William moved closer, wrapping his arms around all of them, creating a cocoon of family. Kate let them cry, knowing they needed to begin processing this impossible reality. After a few moments, she spoke again, her voice full of love and determination. "Listen to me, all of you," she said. "This is the most important part of the story. When the princess had to leave, she didn't really go away. Her love stayed in the castle, in every room, in every garden, in every single place she'd been with her children. And whenever they missed her, all they had to do was close their eyes and remember, and she would be right there in their hearts." She reached for the journal she'd shown William earlier. "I've written letters for each of you," she explained, "for all your important days, so even when I can't be there in person, my words will be with you. Papa will keep them safe and give them to you when you need them most." George wiped his eyes, trying to be grown up. "Will it hurt, Mummy? When you go?" Kate's heart broke at his concern for her even in his own grief. "No, my darling. The doctors will make sure I'm comfortable. I'm not afraid, and I don't want you to be afraid either. Death is just another part of life. Like being born or growing up, it's sad for those left behind, but it's not scary for the person going." "But who will take care of us?" Charlotte asked, her practical nature showing through her tears. "Papa will take wonderful care of you," Kate assured her, "and Aunt Pippa, and Grandpa Charles, and Great-Granny too. You're surrounded by people who love you so much, and I'll always be watching over you, always." William finally spoke, his voice rough with emotion. "Mummy and I want you to know that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry and to miss her. But it's also okay to be happy, to laugh, to play. Mummy wouldn't want you to stop living your wonderful lives." Kate nodded, grateful for his words. "Papa's right. I want you to promise me something, all three of you." The children looked at her expectantly. "Promise me you'll keep being exactly who you are. George, keep being kind and thoughtful. Charlotte, keep dancing and bringing joy to everyone around you. Louis, never stop making people laugh. These are your gifts, and they're what make me most proud." "We promise, Mummy," George said solemnly, speaking for all of them. Kate smiled through her tears. "Good. Now, I need to tell you all something very important, something I've never told anyone, not even Papa." She looked at William, who raised his eyebrows in surprise. "It's about why I really fell in love with your father, and what I want you to remember about our family." The children settled in again, their tears still flowing but their attention captured. Even in her weakened state, Kate had the gift of drawing people in with her words. "Everyone thinks I fell in love with Papa because he was a prince," she began, a hint of mischief in her eyes. "But that's not true at all. In fact, that part rather scared me at first." William looked surprised at this admission. "I fell in love with him because of something that happened when we were at university. Something very simple, but very special." "What happened, Mummy?" Charlotte asked, always eager for a romantic story. "We were studying for exams, and I was very stressed. I thought I was going to fail, and I was ready to give up. Your papa found me crying in the library at 2 in the morning. Do you know what he did?" The children shook their heads. Even William looked curious as this was a story he hadn't heard before. "He sat down next to me and said, 'Right then, if you're going to fail, I'm going to fail with you.' And he closed his own books and just sat there with me. He didn't try to fix anything or tell me I was being silly. He just stayed." Kate looked at William with such love that the children could feel it filling the room. "That's when I knew he was the one. Not because he was Prince William, but because he was willing to fail alongside me rather than succeed alone. That's what real love is. It's staying beside someone, even when things are hard, especially when things are hard. And that's what our family is," she continued, looking at each child in turn. "We stay beside each other. When George has a bad day at school, Charlotte makes him laugh. When Charlotte is frustrated with her dancing, Louis draws her silly pictures. When Louis has nightmares, George lets him sleep in his bed. This is the magic of our family, and it will never, ever go away." "Even when you go to heaven?" Louis asked in his small voice. "Especially then," Kate said firmly. "Because I'll be making sure you all take care of each other. I'll be the whisper in the wind that reminds you to be kind. I'll be the warmth of the sun that encourages you to be brave. I'll be the twinkle in the stars that makes you smile when you're sad." The room had grown darker as evening approached, but no one moved to turn on more lights. There was something sacred about this moment, this gathering of their little family in the soft twilight. Kate's breathing had become more labored, but she pressed on, determined to say everything that needed saying. "Now," she said, "I have something special for each of you. Not presents, but promises. George, come here." George moved closer, and Kate took his hands in hers. "My firstborn, my serious boy. I promise you that it's okay to not be perfect. You don't have to be strong all the time. You're allowed to be sad, to make mistakes, to be a child. Your papa needs you, yes, but he also needs you to be yourself. Not a grown-up before your time." She kissed his forehead and turned to Charlotte. "My darling girl, my little mirror, I promise you that you are enough, exactly as you are. You don't need to be me or anyone else. Be Charlotte, wholly and completely. Dance your own dance. Dream your own dreams. The world needs your unique light. Finally, she pulled Louis closer. My baby. My sunshine. I promise you that even though you might not remember as much about our time together, you are carved into my heart forever. Every giggle, every cuddle, every mischievous grin is written in my soul. You were loved completely from your first breath, and that love will follow you always. Kate was tiring visibly now, but there was one more thing she needed to say. She looked at William, then back at the children. I need you to take care of Papa too. He's going to be very sad, and he might sometimes forget to eat, or sleep, or smile. When that happens, remind him of our happy times. Show him it's okay to be happy again. Can you do that for me? Yes, Mummy, they chorused, their young faces serious with the weight of this responsibility. Good, Kate said, leaning back against the pillows. Now, Papa needs to help me with something. Maria is waiting outside to take you for supper. Give me one more big hug, all together. The children embraced their mother. A tangle of arms and tears and love. Kate breathed them in, memorizing their scents, the feel of their hair, the sound of their voices. I love you more than words can say, she whispered. Forever and always, no matter what. William gently extracted the children, his own heart breaking as Louis asked, See Mummy tomorrow? We'll see, little one, William said carefully. Now go with Maria. Be good for her. As the door closed behind them, Kate's composure finally crumbled completely. Oh, William, she sobbed. How can I leave them? How can I leave you? William gathered her in his arms, his own tears falling into her hair. You're not leaving us, Kate. You heard what you told them. You'll be in everything we do, every memory we make. You're woven into the fabric of who we are. They held each other as the last light faded from the sky, two souls facing the ultimate separation. After a while, Kate pulled back, exhausted but not finished. There's still something I haven't told you, she said, about my final wishes. Something that will be hardest of all for you to hear. But you must know. It's about what happened last Christmas, and the promise I made that I haven't been able to keep. The mention of last Christmas made William's breath catch. It had been such a perfect day, with snow falling softly outside Sandringham while the family gathered around the tree. Kate had been radiant in her burgundy dress, laughing as Louis tried to open everyone's presents. He remembered how she'd pulled him aside that evening with something important to tell him. You were going to tell me something that night, William said slowly, the memory crystallizing. You said you had wonderful news, but then the Queen needed us for something, and we never got back to that conversation. Kate's eyes filled with fresh tears. I was pregnant, William. We were going to have another baby. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with loss upon loss. William felt as if the ground had opened beneath him. Kate, when did you? I lost the baby 2 weeks later, she whispered. The same day I first collapsed. The doctors said the pregnancy might have masked the early symptoms of my illness, or perhaps the illness caused the miscarriage. We'll never know. Her voice broke completely. I couldn't tell you then. You were dealing with so much with your father's health issues, and I thought I could carry this grief alone. Oh, my darling, William breathed, pulling her close again. You should never have had to carry that alone. We promised each other. No secrets, no bearing burdens by ourselves. I know. Kate wept. But I kept thinking if I just stayed strong, if I could just get through it, I could tell you when things were calmer. Then the illness was discovered, and suddenly losing the baby seemed like just the beginning of all we were about to lose. William held her as she cried, his own tears mixing with hers. Another child, another piece of their future that would never be. The cruel irony that Kate's body had been harboring both life and death simultaneously was almost too much to bear. What would we have named the baby? William asked softly, knowing Kate would have thought about it. A sad smile crossed her face. Diana for a girl, Philip for a boy. I wanted to honor them both. She touched her stomach gently. I like to think the baby is waiting for me. Wherever we go next, that I'll get to hold the child we never met. I'm sure you will, William said, though his voice was thick with emotion. And you'll tell them all about us, about their brothers and sister. Kate nodded, then grew serious again. That brings me to what I really need to tell you. My final wishes. And William, you must listen carefully because this is the hardest thing I'll ask of you. William straightened, giving her his full attention despite wanting nothing more than to stop time, to freeze this moment before she could say whatever was going to shatter him further. "I've made arrangements," Kate began, her voice growing stronger with determination. "Very specific arrangements that go against protocol, and I need you to ensure they're followed." "Anything," William said immediately. "Whatever you want." Kate took a deep breath. "I don't want a state funeral. I know what's expected, what tradition demands. But William, I can't bear the thought of our children having to walk behind my coffin while the world watches. I won't have their grief turned into a spectacle." William understood immediately, remembering his own walk behind his mother's coffin. The most difficult journey of his young life. "Of course. We'll keep it private. There's more," Kate continued. "I want to be buried at Anmer Hall, in that little churchyard where we used to take the children to feed the ducks. Not Westminster Abbey. Not Windsor. Somewhere the children can visit me without ceremony, where they can sit on the grass and tell me about their day." "The church might resist," William warned gently. "Royal burials have protocols. Then you'll have to fight them," Kate said firmly. "This is the one thing I'm asking for myself. Everything else I've done has been for duty, for the crown, for others. Let me rest somewhere peaceful, somewhere that was truly home." William nodded, memorizing every request. "What else?" "The children's education," Kate continued. "I know there will be pressure to send them away to boarding school early, especially now. Promise me you won't let that happen. They need to be home with you, to have that stability. Let them be day students as long as possible." "I promise," William said. What about your parents? Have you spoken to them?" Kate's face crumpled again. "They're coming tomorrow." "Oh, William, my poor mother. She's trying to be strong, but I can hear her heart breaking over the phone. And Papa, he just keeps saying there must be something we haven't tried." She paused, gathering herself. "I need you to help them afterward. They'll want to retreat, to grieve privately, but don't let them disappear. The children will need their grandparents." The medical equipment beeped more insistently, and Kate winced. William reached for the call button, but she stopped him. "Not yet. There's one more thing. The most important thing." She looked directly into his eyes, gathering all her remaining strength. "I need you to promise me something about yourself, not as a father, not as a prince, but as William, the man I fell in love with. Anything," William repeated, though he suspected what was coming. "Don't die with me," Kate said bluntly. "I know you, William Arthur Philip Louis. I know how you retreat into duty when you're in pain, how you build walls and hide behind protocol. You did it when your mother died, and you'll want to do it again. But you mustn't." "Kate, no. Listen," she interrupted. "Our children need to see you grieve, but they also need to see you heal. They need to know that life goes on, that joy is still possible, and someday, William, someday you'll meet someone who makes you smile again. When that happens, don't feel guilty. Don't think you're betraying me. You'll be honoring me by choosing happiness." "I can't even think about that," William said, his voice breaking. "You're my everything, Kate. You have been since that day in the library, and I always will be," Kate assured him. "But hearts are miraculous things. They expand. Loving someone else doesn't diminish what we have. Look at the children did, having Charlotte make us love George less. Did Louis's arrival diminish our love for the others? No, our hearts just grew bigger." She reached up to touch his face, her hand trembling. "I've had the privilege of being loved by you, William. It's been the greatest honor of my life, greater than any title or crown. But your story doesn't end with mine. There are chapters yet to be written." "How can you be so calm about this?" William asked, marveling at her grace even now. "Because I've had time to think," Kate said simply. "Those nights when I couldn't sleep, I would lie here and plan. Not for my future, but for yours, for all of yours." She gestured weakly toward a drawer in the bedside table. "In there, you'll find more letters. Some for you to read on the hard days. Some for the children's future spouses, yes, I even thought of that. And one for whoever captures your heart next." William opened the drawer, seeing dozens of envelopes in Kate's neat handwriting, each one labeled with specific occasions. George's 18th birthday, Charlotte's wedding day, when Louis asks about me, William first Christmas, William when you're ready to love, again. You've thought of everything, William said again, overwhelmed by her thoughtfulness even in the face of death. I'm a mother, Kate said with a weak smile. It's what we do. Then her expression grew serious again. But there's something I haven't written down. Something I need to say to you now. And I need you to truly hear it. William leaned closer, seeing how much effort each word was costing her now. You are enough, Kate said firmly. Just as you are. Not the perfect prince, not the future king, just William. The man who sat with a crying girl in a library. The father who does silly voices for bedtime stories. The husband who still brings me tea exactly how I like it after all these years. That man is enough. He has always been enough. Kate. William's voice was barely a whisper. I see you doubting yourself already, she continued. Wondering how you'll manage everything alone. But you're not alone, and you're stronger than you know. Trust yourself. Trust the love we've built. It will guide you. The room had grown quiet, the bustle of the palace muted and distant. In this moment, there was only them. Two souls connected by a love that had defined their adult lives. Kate's breathing was becoming more labored, each breath a conscious effort. I think, she said softly, I think I need the doctors now. But first. She pulled him down for a kiss, pouring all her love, all her hope, all her dreams for him into that final, intimate moment. When they parted, both were crying. I love you, Kate whispered. I have loved you since that night in the library, and I will love you beyond my last breath. Take care of our babies. Take care of yourself, and remember, William, remember that you were loved completely. Let that be enough to carry you through. William pressed the call button, and within moments the room filled with medical personnel. But he never let go of Kate's hand, not as they adjusted medications, not as they spoke in hushed medical terms, not as her breathing grew shallower. Tell me about Anmer Hall, Kate said suddenly, her voice barely audible. Tell me about the roses in spring. William understood. She wanted to be transported somewhere beautiful, somewhere peaceful. The roses are magnificent this year, he began, his voice steady despite his tears. The pink ones you planted by the garden gate have grown so tall. And the white ones, the ones you said reminded you of our wedding, they're blooming all along the path to the pond. Kate smiled, her eyes closed now. And the children? Tell me how they look in the garden. George helps me tend the vegetables. William continued, painting the picture she needed. He's so careful with the tomato plants. Charlotte has claimed the butterfly garden as her special place. She practices her dancing there when she thinks no one's watching. And Louis. Louis has discovered that the mud by the pond is perfect for making mud pies. Kate laughed weakly. He would, my messy boy, the happiest boy. William corrected gently. Because you taught him that messes can be cleaned but memories last forever. Kate's breathing changed, and Dr. Matthews caught William's eye, nodding slightly. The end was near. William leaned closer, speaking directly into her ear. I promise you, Kate. I promise I'll take care of them. I promise I'll let myself grieve and heal. I promise I'll remember our love not with sadness but with gratitude. I promise to live, really live, not just exist. This isn't goodbye, my darling. It's just... until we meet again. Kate squeezed his hand one last time, using her final words, the ones that would echo in the palace halls and shatter William's world even as they rebuilt it. In the roses. Wait for me in the roses. I'll find you there. And then, as softly as a candle being extinguished, as gently as a rose petal falling, Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, beloved wife and mother, slipped away. The monitor's steady beep became a long, singular tone. The medical staff moved efficiently, but respectfully. Their voices a distant murmur, but William remained still, holding her hand, memorizing her face, this final moment of their earthly time together. When he finally stood, when he finally let go, something in him shattered. The composure he'd maintained for Kate's sake crumbled completely. He stumbled toward the door, needing air, needing space, needing something his mind couldn't name. As he reached the hallway, his legs gave out entirely. The Prince of Wales, the future King of England, collapsed in the palace hallway. His grief too heavy for his body to bear. The sobs that tore from him echoed off the ancient walls, a sound of such profound loss that staff members froze in their tracks. tears springing to their own eyes. "Kate," he cried out, his voice raw and broken. "Oh God, Kate." Palace security moved to help him, but he waved them off, needing this moment of complete breakdown, this moment of human frailty. For so long he'd been the prince, the duty-bound royal. Now he was just a man who had lost his everything. Eventually, his father appeared, having been alerted by staff. Charles said nothing, just sat down on the cold marble floor beside his son, placing a hand on his shoulder. Together they sat in the hallway of the palace that had seen centuries of joy and sorrow, as another chapter of love and loss was written into its history. "The children," William finally managed to say, "are with Pippa," Charles assured him gently. "There's time. Take all the time you need." William nodded, trying to gather himself. Kate's words echoed in his mind. Show them how to grieve, but also how to heal. Even in his destruction, she was guiding him. As he finally stood, supported by his father, William looked back toward Kate's room. The door was closed now, but he could almost see her there, radiant and strong, telling him he was enough, telling him their love story wasn't ending, just changing form. "She said to wait for her in the roses," William whispered. Charles squeezed his shoulder. "Then that's what we'll do. We'll plant more roses at Anmer Hall. A whole garden of them. She'll never be far from home." William took a shuddering breath, straightening his shoulders. There would be announcements to make, children to comfort, a nation to inform. But for now, in this moment, he was just a man walking away from the room where he'd left his heart, carrying her final words like a torch in the darkness. Kate was gone, but her love remained, woven into every corner of their lives. And somewhere in the future, past the grief and the tears, roses would bloom again. He would wait for her there, in the garden of memory and hope, until they met again. The palace hallway stretched before him, long and daunting. But William walked forward, one step at a time, carrying Kate's love with him, letting it light the way through the darkness that had descended. Behind him, the medical staff worked quietly, preparing to fulfill her final wishes. Ahead of him, 3 children waited, needing their father more than ever. And so William walked on, shattered but not broken, grieving but not defeated, carrying the greatest gift Kate had given him, the knowledge that love transcends even death, that what they had built together would endure. That in every rose that bloomed, in every laugh from their children, in every act of kindness and courage, she would be there. The prince had collapsed in the palace hallway, but a father, a man who had been loved completely and well, stood up and walked forward into the hardest chapter of his life, guided by the eternal light of a love that death could not diminish.